Disclaimer: the following video is heavily inspired by CR Volcanic's videos on the monsters of Monster Hunter Frontier. Go watch his videos after this one. Also, all gameplay footage is in the description and belongs to its respective owners. And now we have arrived at the longest part yet in our Frontier saga. This is because, unlike with the previous monster categories, who didn't get many new additions in Frontier, the Flying Wyverns received a lot. And I mean a lot of newcomers. 19 to be precise. So this video will be pretty long, at least compared to the previous episodes. But the video is not going to make itself, so let's talk about the Flying Wyverns of Frontier. In the Monster Hunter series, there are two types of flying wyvern, the ones that fly and the ones who stay on the ground. Frontier has newcomers on both sides, and they are unique, to say the least, but in a good way. First, we have Espinas Rare Species. We already have two Espinas in the main series, but what I told you, there was a third one. I mean, there's also a fourth, but that's for another video. Espinas Rare Species, also called White or Pearl Espinas, is a rare species of Espinas that was introduced in Frontier's Season 5.5 update. He lives at the top of the giant tree at the Great Forest, the same place where he fights Silver Hypnocatrus, and is much more proficient with his fire and poison. Similar to the other Espinas, he starts the fight asleep, but unlike them, the moment you wake him, he will immediately enrage. His aggression is unmatched, and his special attack is devastating, as he takes to the air, goes to the middle of the arena, and spits a large fireball that explodes on the ground, setting the ground around him ablaze. He'll then stay in the middle of the flames, drinking water from the small puddles on the ground, presumably to wash his throat. If he's not stopped, he will stomp at the ground, sending the flames in all directions. You can stop him because he leaves an opening that you can use to reach him. Overall, he would be a great addition since his peers are already in the main series. I'd probably take away the special attacks flames being able to spin around like a carousel, and maybe nerf it a bit since it deals chip damage like it's no one's business, but that's just what I think. Next up, we have Anorupatisu. The apex predator of the Polar Sea map, Anorupatisu was introduced in the G2 update. They are large flying wyverns resembling a mix between a dragon and a sawfish. They are extremely territorial, and sometimes they will kill and eat others of their own kind just to survive and keep their territory. In a fight, Anorupatisu attacks like a Diablos mixed with a Rathian, but with new attacks, such as digging their horn on the ground, spinning around to create a massive geyser of cold water before taking to the air and swooping at you from within the geyser. He can also release a cold mist in the air that creates icicles, and when he digs underground, he performs an attack where he digs at you with only his fin emerging from under the ice, and then jumps out, swinging his horn at you. That's not all. When he truly realizes that you aren't just prey that fights back, but rather a true opponent, he busts out his secret weapon, the Dragon Element. Yes, this random sawfish dragon can use the strongest element in the series. He uses it to enhance his attacks and makes the fight much more dangerous. Overall, from what I've seen, he seems like a really good fight, but the problem is that, like the other two monsters that live in the Polar Sea, he needs salt water to live, and Monster Hunter Wilds lacks any type of map near the ocean, much less the frigid waters where Anorupatisu lives. Next up, Berukyurosu. Introduced in the Season 4.0 update, Berukyurosu is a flying wyvern that lives in the Gorge, a map that is modeled after a canyon. His most defining characteristics are the tassels at the base of his tail and the large whip-like middle fingers on his wings. You know how Arkveld has whip or chain-like appendages on his wings? Well, Berukyurosu did that first. He uses these whips to redirect and control the thunder element. He is also incredibly smart, being able to adapt to a hunter's fighting style depending on the quest. In fact, he is so smart that if you try to capture him, he will overload himself with Thunder Element and die, preventing you from capturing him. He is one of the 3 Frontier flying wyverns with whips on their wings, and he's the most basic of them. Bringing him back, however, would be a bit difficult though, for one really simple reason. We already have 2 Thunder Element flying wyverns, Astalos and Raydao, and one of them, Raydao, already lives in deserts. If he ever comes back, he would probably be in a game without them. Up next, Bogabadorumu. Bogabadorumu, introduced in the Z Zenith update, is a flying wyvern that has no wings. Because of this, I assume he is related to a contour in Euconlos, but that's just my speculation. His main ability is that he can produce an explosive gas from tubes all over his body, mostly from his arms. I'm not sure on how exactly he makes this gas. Maybe he eats combustible ores and that's how he makes it. Either way, he can trigger this gas by slamming his hands on the ground or just biting down on it, Teostra style. But that's not all he can do. For you see, Bogabadorumu is a Zenith monster, a type of monster variation introduced in Frontier's Z update. They are basically extremely powerful versions of already existing monsters with heavily exaggerated features, and Bogabadorumu is technically one of them. He doesn't start out as one, but becomes one mid-battle. After he reaches a certain health threshold, his arms mutate, gaining spikes in between his arm tubes, and they become bulkier overall. He will remain a Zenith monster until you kill him. This, in my opinion, kind of prevents him from coming back to the main series, because I doubt Capcom would want to bring such extreme creatures as the Zeniths back. The only way I can think of them bringing him back is if they stripped him of his Zenith form, which would be a shame. But I have an idea. You see, during the fight, Bogabadorumu has these patches in his body that constantly glow, and when you knock him out, they stop glowing until he gets up. What if, hear me out, what if he started the fight with these patches out, and then when he reaches the health threshold, they start glowing, and he starts using his gas more often, as a nod to his original Zenith state. It's kind of a crappy replacement, but it's the best I got. Next up, we have Diorekkusu. Now we have another new type of monster, the burst species, which are really powerful relatives of existing monsters. They also usually have some sort of gimmick to them. Diorekkusu is one such burst species. He is a relative of Tigrex introduced in the G Genuine update, and is usually grey in color, but he can magnetize ores into his body, forming a blue armor. He fights much like a normal Tigrex, but with the ability to raise rocks for him to jump off with his magnetism, and he can also make an electric beam. He has also a damaging roar, just like the other Tigrex variants. They are said to inhabit places where ores are plentiful, but the thing is, you fight him atop the Great Forest's peak, same place you fight Silver Hypnocatrus and Espinas Rare Species. I guess they didn't want to give him a new arena, but I feel it would make more sense if he had his own place, you know. I feel like he'd be more fit for a cave or a volcanic area, but then again, we already have two burst species who live in those habitats, so I don't know. If they brought him back, I feel like they should give him his own arena. Next on the list, we have Doragyurosu. A relative of Berukyurosu, Doragyurosu, introduced in the Season 8.5 update, primarily inhabits cold areas, unlike his cousin who lives in arid areas. Doragyurosu also uses the dragon element as opposed to the thunder element. However, he can still cause paralysis. He uses his whips a lot more, and is overall more aggressive than his cousin. That's pretty much it, except for one thing. For some reason, Doragyurosu seemed to be a favorite of the Frontier team, because he has quite a few variations. He has a Supremacy version and a Zenith version, while Berukyurosu doesn't have any of that. Not to mention, I can see him coming back more easily than Berukyurosu since he uses the dragon element as opposed to thunder, so there's less competition. If he does ever come back, can we also get Berukyurosu? Also, his Supremacy version can pretend to die, and honestly, we should bring that to his base form because that's cool. Next up, we have Dyuragaua. Introduced in the Season 8.0 update, Dyuragaua is a flying wyvern that utilizes the ice element. It primarily lives in the tower, but has also been sighted in the gorge, where it competes with Berukyurosu for food. Dyuragaua are very elusive, so much so no one knew they existed until one's nest was found during an expedition. At first they attack by only using physical attacks, most of which have unique animations, but when enraged they'll cover their face, claws and tail in ice, and will start using more ranged attacks, such as spitting ice projectiles, and bizarrely, creating ice tornadoes by swiping its claws. They can also release a gas from their tail in this state, which causes sleep. I really like Dyuragaua. Its design is really cool, but not perfect. Many people have claimed its tail looks like an artichoke, and I can't say I disagree. But honestly, it doesn't ruin the design for me. The only problem with him is the ice tornadoes, but I feel like you could change it to waves of ice and it would work just as well, if not better. Next up, we have Gureadomosu. Gureadomosu is a large, bulky flying wyvern introduced in Frontier's G7 update. He is an origin species of Gravios, and unlike him, who lives in volcanoes, Gureadomosu lives in the rivers of the Gen 2 desert, and can often be seen drinking water from them. This is because he can forcefully expel the water in his body for attacks, and even to propel himself across the map at surprising speeds. His attacks include things like shooting out balls of water from the tubes on his back, to water beams, and as mentioned previously, shooting out water from his tail to propel himself at great speeds. The main thing with Gureadomosu that people don't like are his design and fight. His design is very busy. The colors are fine in my opinion, but he has axe-like structures on his face and back, a really sharp chin, even sharper knees, and the tubes he uses to shoot out water from are everywhere on his body, even the fingers on his wings. He would probably need a major overhaul in the design department. What I've heard, the fight isn't great either, so yeah, overall he'd need to be reworked quite a bit. Next in the list is Gurenzeburu. Also known as the Barbarian Wyvern, Gurenzeburu is a flying wyvern that was introduced in Frontier Season 9.0 update. He lives in the highlands and is known to be extremely territorial towards other monsters, attacking them with every single part of his body, from his sharp horn to his strong wings and muscular tail. Gurenzeburu is a force to be reckoned with. He can even shoot water beams and emit a paralyzing gas when he himself is paralyzed. However, he isn't all aggression. Surprisingly, Gurenzeburu will actually allow the highlands resident herbivores to live near him, as he primarily eats fish, ores, and insects. Overall, he's really cool, and his ecology is actually quite fascinating. The idea of a creature that attacks other carnivores will leave herbivores in peace, while a bit silly, is actually kind of cool. There isn't much from stopping him from coming to the main series. He's one of the few flying wyverns of Frontier that in my opinion wouldn't need any changes if brought back. Next, Hyujikiki. The apex predator of the highlands, Hyujikiki is a flying wyvern that uses Berukyurosu's frame introduced in Frontier's G update. Hyujikiki is covered in several spines, similar to a porcupine or hedgehog, but unlike those animals, Hyujikiki can shoot them out, either to defend itself or to attack. These spines are actually hardened oils that Hyujikiki secretes, and because of this, its fur is oily and it is weak to fire. Like Berukyurosu, it can also spit out twisters from its mouth, but it doesn't use them to attack you directly. Instead, it shoots its spines into them, sending them flying everywhere. It can also curl itself into a protective ball or jump and fall on its back, crushing and impaling anyone under it. But wait, there's more. For when Hyujikiki is close to death, it goes into its second phase. See, Hyujikiki has glands in its body that produce 3 types of toxins that can inflict statuses, them being sleep, poison, and paralysis. When Hyujikiki is close to dying, it will activate these glands as a last effort to kill you, mixing the toxins with the oils in its fur and using them to create a debilitating nightmare. And it can also attach a twister to its tail in this phase. Somehow. Yeah, it's a lot, but honestly, with a few changes, I think it could work in the main series. Hear me out. Obviously, Hyujikiki inflicting 3 statuses is a bit unfair, so how could we fix it? Simple. Make it so every Hyujikiki inflicts a different status depending on the fight. For example, the first time you fight Hyujikiki, it could use poison, but then the next one uses paralysis, and the one after that uses sleep, and so on and so forth. Would this be annoying? Maybe, but I think it makes it more unpredictable. Next on the list is Meraginasu. A flying wyvern introduced in Frontier's G3.2 update, Meraginasu is the birth species of Espinas. It lives in the deepest caverns of Tide Island, and because of this, it is mostly blind, relying on its massive ears to hear its prey. In addition to that, Meraginasu will be our introduction to compound elements, a feature exclusive to Frontier, where 2 or more elements can combine to form a new one. In Meraginasu's case, it utilizes the darkness element, which is a combination of the ice and dragon elements. Meraginasu starts the fight by not doing much, but when he hears you, or someone else, it'll go into a frenzy. See, Meraginasu is the series' first case of a monster that can actually target specific hunters, a mechanic that would later be utilized by Safijiva and Jindahad in the main series. However, Instead of targeting who damages it the most, it targets those who make the most sound. The only way to avoid being targeted is by hiding in bone piles scattered around the cavern. The main problem with Meraginasu is his design, which, like Gureadomosu, is very busy. But hot take, I don't think it's that bad. The only issue I have with it is the hook-like talons on the feet, but other than that, I think the design is just okay. The only change I'd make aside from the hook talons is maybe make the yellow horns a bit smaller and maybe make the drill horn less obvious in its inspiration, but that's it. Up next, Miru. Miru is an interesting case. While it has the body frame of a flying wyvern, specifically a pseudo-wyvern, Miru is one of the few frontier monsters that never got a classification. It somewhat resembles Dyuragaua, of which it seems to be related. The reason I say it seems to is because it is unbelievably rare. Miru's main ability is that it can shapeshift. Yes, you heard me right, it can shapeshift. It's not him pumping blood into certain body parts to make them bigger or changing posture to appear larger. Miru can just shapeshift. It has 6 forms: normal, speed, power, ranged, crystal, and final. Despite its name, the final form is not actually a last phase, but instead is just the normal form it can take. Each of Miru's forms seem to be based on other flying wyverns, and in its crystal form it can inflict the dreaded crystal blight status, the same one that the Akuras can inflict. I honestly don't know how they could bring Miru back, as shapeshifting and the way Miru uses it is non-existent in nature, and it doesn't really have a defined ecology like other monsters we covered so far. Coming next, we have Odibatorasu, a massive desert-dwelling flightless flying wyvern resembling a turtle introduced in Frontiers 4.5 update. Also known as the Rock Cannon Wyvern, Odibatorasu's defining characteristic is his massive shell, which has holes on top and on the front. The reason? Odibatorasu uses these holes to fire projectiles made of sand at opponents. He can also spew out a sand beam from his mouth and use his immense strength to dig through the sand in a swimming motion, sending rocks flying everywhere as it does so. It is believed that he is related to Akantor and Yukanlos, and if you want to group him with them, maybe Bogabadorumu too, though that's just speculation on my part. Now, Odibatorasu's design is pretty good, at least in my opinion. We currently don't have a true turtle monster. Closest we have is the Tronodon, but I don't know if it counts. So having a giant turtle wyvern in the main series would be really cool. Admittedly, his face is a little goofy looking, but it's nothing that a few touch-ups could fix. Next, we have Pariapuria. From one desert dweller to another, we have Pariapuria, though technically he has been sighted in other places too. Pariapuria is a strange, salamander-like flying wyvern introduced in Frontiers Season 5.0 update. They are gluttonous creatures, eating anything they can get their claws on, and it has been reported that several rare monster materials can be found in their digestive tract. But that's not the only interesting thing about Pariapuria. See, Pariapuria actually has a gimmick attached to him, it being, you can feed him. At the start of the quest, instead of being given the usual supplies, you'll be given meat of 4 types: raw, poisoned, paralytic, and drugged. You might be wondering why, and the reason is simple: to feed Pariapuria. During the fight, he'll perform an attack where he will chomp on the ground while running towards you. If you put a type of meat on the ground in front of him as he does the attack, he'll eat it, and depending on the color of his saliva, it results in 2 outcomes. Outcome 1, he continues doing the attack, which means you've chosen the correct type of meat, or outcome 2, he throws a temper tantrum because you didn't give him the correct meat. But either way, you may notice that his stomach will start to swell, and eventually, after feeding him enough times, he'll become slow and lethargic. In this state, he's more vulnerable to attacks. Hilariously complicated gimmick aside, Pariapuria is an okay fight. Nothing amazing, but not terrible either. Bringing him back could be difficult considering his gimmick, but who knows. Up next, Poborubarumu. This guy is probably one of the strangest species in the entire series. Poborubarumu is a large whale-like flying wyvern introduced in the G6 update of Frontier. His wings have degenerated and he uses them as accordions, his blowholes act as a pipe organ, He has a colony of barnacles growing on his tail, with a huge one he uses as a drum, and if you look at him from above, he is shaped like a violin. He's already kind of ridiculous, but he has not one, not two, but three gimmicks. Firstly, he can cause a status unique to him called Confusion, which is different from the status of the same name introduced in Monster Hunter Generations. This confusion causes your hunter to perform a random gesture when inflicted with it. He can inflict it by using his sound-based attacks. His second gimmick involves his drum barnacle, where he can use it to buff himself, and if you're close to him, he can even apply these buffs to you as well. His third gimmick is that he can repair his spark breaks with a fluid he secretes. Bringing Poborubarumu back would probably be a bit of a challenge because of his gimmicks and his unique status effects. If I were to bring him back, I'd probably just give him the Confusion status from Generations, which reverses your controls. The idea being he's so loud it disorients your hunter. Also, his magical part fixing fluid is kind of unnecessary and could be considered annoying, at least in my opinion. Next up, we have Unknown. Yes, that is his actual name. Unknown, also known as the Black Flying Wyvern, is a monster introduced in Frontiers 4.1 update. They originally did not have a classification, like Miru, but were later confirmed to be a flying wyvern. They also have no confirmed name, only being known as Unknown. They are extremely elusive, so much so we don't even know how many there are, where they live, or even their gender. Most people assume it's female due to it resembling a Raffian, but for all we know, this thing could be male. Now, Unknown's gimmick is that it is an invader monster, though one actually invading a quest is very rare. When it does so, it replaces the original target with itself, and you must repel or kill it. But doing so is not easy, for Unknown has another trick up its sleeve. Once it enrages, it never de-enrages. It just keeps escalating as the Black Wyvern's fury keeps growing and growing. The base Unknown has around 5 levels of rage, but there are 2 other versions of Unknown, which add new rage levels. The Supremacy Unknown, who adds 1, and the Solstice War Unknown, who adds 2. With the 7th level also being a second phase. Solstice War Unknown is one of only 2 Solstice War monsters, with the other one being an Elder Dragon level monster. Its design is simple, but in my opinion extremely effective. A black and red Raffian with the tail of a Rathalos, and as it enrages, its body parts start glowing, giving it a demonic visage. Now, if they ever wanted to bring it back, I feel like the best choice would be to bring back the base form, as the Supremacy and Solstice War versions could be a bit overwhelming. And as a YouTube comment said, it should keep the Gen 1 Raph body plan, because this thing isn't a Raph. It never was. Next, we have Varusaburosu. A bird species of Diablos introduced in the G6 update, Varusaburosu are the descendants of either the main Diablo species or their ancestors, who moved to volcanic areas in search of food. There, they found a special type of cactus that was so good that they chose to stay there, and they adapted accordingly. Varusaburosu, like the other bird species, has a gimmick, it being a game of keep away involving the special cactus. See, if Varusaburosu eats the cactus, it will enter a special state where the flames on its body will start glowing blue, and he will start using devastating attacks. So to prevent that, you have to grab the cactus and keep it away from him. This fight is obviously best experienced in multiplayer, as one player can grab the cactus while the rest attacks Varusaburosu. I'm gonna be honest, both Varusaburosu's lore and fight feel a bit too cartoonish, I guess that's the only way to describe it. However, I feel like I could forgive the lore if the mechanics behind his fight were a little different. Like, what if his fight was like World's Raging Brachydios, where it starts out like a normal fight, but at the last stretch, he eats a special cactus and goes into his blue flame mode before blocking the exits to the zone and making it a fight to the death. That would be awesome, but if they want to keep the keep away mechanic, that's fine too. Next up, we have Zenaserisu. The third and final Whipwing Wyvern, Zenaserisu is a flying wyvern introduced in Frontiers Z update. Unlike Berukyurosu and Doragyurosu, Zenaserisu resembles a mixture of a bat, a fish, and a dragon, with shorter but sharper whips. His main method of attack is releasing pressurized water from his body, be it as beams, balls, or even releasing it from its whips. Because of this, he can often be seen drinking water, and considering he lives at the painted waterfalls, there's plenty of it to go around. He also has a special attack, where he spits out a beam of water at the ground before slamming down on it, causing a mini geyser to erupt around him, which culminates in a small rainbow. He also leaves himself open after this attack. Overall, Zenaserisu is quite the interesting monster. His design is really cool, though a bit overtuned, and when enraged he gains a red tint over his body, which makes him look cooler. He's also noted in concept art to sleep upside down, but he doesn't do that in game. If he ever comes back, I hope they give him that little ecology tidbit. And finally, we have Zerureusu. The bird species of Raphalos, Zerureusu is a rarely seen wyvern, who only appears on the tower when it is sunny, which in itself is also rare. He is white with blue accents, and like every single bird species, he has a gimmick. It being that depending on where you hit him, he will grow crystals on that body part to protect himself. If you attack his head a lot, he'll grow crystals on the sides of his head. If you attack his wings a lot, he'll grow crystals on his wing talons. And if you attack his legs a lot, he'll grow crystals there. Additionally, he serves as a counterpart to Meraginasu, and wields the light element, a mixture of fire element and thunder element. Now, Zerureusu's design in his normal state is great. It could use a little work when he has his crystals, but even then it looks okay. I especially like how he has red eyes to contrast with his white and blue color scheme. Overall, he's really good. And those are all the flying wyverns of Frontier. Like the fanged beasts, these ones are a mixed bag of can be brought back with minimal changes to would need some pretty big changes. But even so, I like them. Our next episode will be the Leviathans and Piscine wyverns, which will be the calm before the Elder Dragon storm. See you folks then!